In this video, I'll show you how to solve the ALEKS problem called interpreting the electron configuration of an atom or atomic ion. In this problem, you're going to be given the electron configuration, and it's either going to be for a neutral atom or it's going to be for an ion. This problem, I have been assigned a cation with a charge of +1. If it is an anion, it's going to tell you that it's an anion and tell you what the charge is. If it's a neutral atom, it's just going to say neutral atom, and neutral atoms don't have charges on them, so that information will not be present. It's going to ask us 3 different questions about this electron configuration, and honestly, I think it's easier to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. I think that the easiest problem is at the end of this. So first thing we have to do is identify how many 2p electrons there are. To do this, we are just going to focus on the 2p portion of the electron configuration. The number that's in the superscript, the 6, that's telling us how many electrons are in the 2p orbitals. Second thing is asking us how many electrons the ion has, and it might say how many electrons the atom has if you're being assigned a neutral atom. To figure this out, we're just going to add up all of the numbers that are in the superscripts. 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 1 is a 13. Now, the last thing that we have to do is figure out the chemical symbol for the ion, or maybe it says for the atom. And to do this, we need to figure out how many protons it has. So I'm going to kind of add this question down in the bottom. How many protons do we have? Now, if you have a neutral atom, so if this is not asking about a cation with a charge or an anion with a charge, if it's just asking about an atom, then the number of electrons is going to be equal to the number of protons. That'll be pretty easy. If this is an ion, if it has a charge on it, then the number of protons and electrons are not exactly the same, and we're going to have to figure it out. If you have a cation, that means that you have a positively charged ion, and that means that you have more protons than electrons. And in this case, because I have a +1 charge, that specifically means I have 1 more proton than electron. So I have 14 protons in this cation. Now, if this question was asking you about an anion instead, and like it had a negative, let's say it had a -2 charge, that would mean that you have more electrons than protons, specifically that you would have 2 more electrons than protons. And so since we have 13 electrons, in that case it would mean that we would have 11 protons. So this is going to be kind of tricky. You're going to have to go a little slow there. Once you figure out how many protons you have, then you're just going to go to the periodic table. You're going to find the element with that number of protons. 14 protons is silicon, Si. So that's the symbol for the 2-letter symbol. Don't forget that you also have to include the charge. ALEKS is giving you the charge in the problem statement, so you can just fill that information in. If you have a +1 or a -1 charge, then normally we don't write the 1, we just use the plus sign or the minus sign.